And welcome into the SorareAndrews podcast brought to you by Sorare Data. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined as almost always, I think I'm using that every week now, by Andy Black, who you can find as Black on Sorare. Thank you to everyone who is joining us live. Everybody is very excited today because Sorare came out with the new scoring matrix. Andy, tell us everything we're going to talk about the scoring matrix.
I think we're going to talk about why we're going to flip tables and be so upset, and why fullbacks now are just going to totally break the game, right?
That's it. Discussion over.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. In actuality, we're not really going to talk about the scoring matrix at all. It's been out for, 2 or 3 hours now. There are a lot of people on Twitter who seem to be dropping a lot of stats about who's going to be better and why. Actually, there's very little why. It's just oh, this guy gains 10 points. This guy loses. This guy's not that good. And as of right now, meaning this moment, it's 1 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday, July 26th. Nobody really knows yet. Those who use Sorare data will know shortly. If you're watching this as a replay, you probably may already know. And so there's nothing really to talk about because you already have the answers. But it seems like everybody's really just looking for who are the guys I should go buy now that weren't so good. And I think there are some ideas. Someone clearly thought Trent Alexander-Arnold would be one of the guys, and 21 ETH later, they have 3 new cards. So that's nice for that person. But the way that we are going to present things on Sorare Data, we think will make it easier for people to figure out.
Andrew, maybe?
I lost us for a second.
Yeah, you did.
We'll have that. We'll have everything on Sorare Data, and we're going to write about it in this week's newsletter. So nobody's going to be left out on the news. So, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. So if everybody tuned in live and we're oh, I'm going to get all the secrets from the new scoring matrix, I'm sorry, you're not going to get them on this show. But we will have plenty of stuff about it anyway. What we did want to talk about was this idea of I said it to you, this idea that people feel like they have to play everything. And I say people and I actually just mean me. So this came about with baseball, and I realized that it really applies to much more than just baseball. So we kind of promised people this wouldn't become like a baseball show. But did you feel any you have to play baseball feelings when Sorare announced baseball?
Did I feel like I had to? No.
Yeah.
No. But did I also feel like I should? I kind of did feel like I should, just because I have a good understanding of the game. Sorare is what the reason I'm even in Sorare is because of baseball. So, which is weird.
That's funny.
And
yeah.
There's story associated with it, but whatever. So I did almost feel obligated to at least get involved a little bit. I know the game, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that are buying cards and they don't know the game at all. So I feel like there might be slight edge too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even I've been disengaged from the game for the last since COVID, I would say. Last couple years I've just kind of been disengaged
from baseball, not from
Yes.
Sorare. Yeah.
Right. But I'll still watch highlights of my team, which is St. Louis Cardinals. I'll still see them on the news. I'll see little things here and there. I follow their beat writers, so I'm still engaged with that team. So I do feel like I have and I have a team, which I don't really in Sorare soccer. So I'm gonna buy my guys.
That's fair. Yeah, I pretty much gave up on baseball years ago. And
what's years ago?
Not quite 10, but more than 5, somewhere between 5 and 10 years.
Okay.
And part of it was actually when I started following soccer more. So I guess it's closer to 10 years. But like I only had so much time and I decided to dedicate more time, like the time that I used to spend watching baseball, into soccer or football for a lot of people watching. So the like return of baseball is kind of like, for me, it was like, oh, I should probably like see what's going on. Obviously baseball, because it's so rare, like Sorare data is going to cover it. And so it was like I felt like I should participate in it. I didn't feel like I had to, but there it felt like a big reaction to Sorare introducing baseball, which like we knew other sports were coming and we knew there were US sports and there were only so many US sports. So like baseball was one of the options. So it wasn't like a surprise that baseball showed up, but when it did, everyone's like, "Oh, well, I don't want to have to play baseball." And it was like, "You don't have to. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like you can pretend it doesn't exist at all." And that kind of way of thinking I thought was kind of funny. Like that's what started me thinking this whole like us coming on and being like on a show here that a lot of people who play Sorare football or soccer watch, and it's like us telling them like it's okay to not play baseball. Like
Right.
you don't have to.
How many baseball cards do you own now?
Me?
Yeah.
Let me check. It's not that many, but it's also not zero. I was hoping I would wake up this morning with one more, but I didn't. 12. I have 12.
Okay. How many cards have you bid on since it launched?
I've lost like 96 auctions.
Yeah.
I've
So
bid on a lot.
did you almost feel like you had to play? Or did you want to play?
So I had this plan to not play. Like there was no way I was going to play as much as I play football. And I was like, I don't have the time to do it. I don't have the desire to do it. So like, I was just like, I'm not going to do that. And once I started buying cards, I was like, oh, damn it. This is kind of fun. And like, I don't really pay attention to baseball. Like I see names that I knew over the past few years. And I was like, okay, these guys are good. And I like kind of know my son is 11 and is like, loves baseball. So this is kind of like a thing that he and I are doing now. We're like collecting cards together, which is funny because he keeps talking about how like they're our cards and our team, but it's like all my money. There's no, there's the investment is not so great. Um, so, but then I started playing and it took me back to when I first started really playing Sorare football. And with the way that my gallery is now, and obviously I've been on the platform for like 18 months at this point, like I don't check auctions that often. Like there are only like certain number of cards that I need at this point or like certain holes to fill in my lineups. Like I'm starting from scratch with baseball. And I was just like, it was just like throwing back to like when I was constantly looking at auctions and seeing what cards to come out. And this time it's like on steroids because they're like so many cards and they're on all the time. And it's like, oh, I didn't win this auction. And then I'm like, oh, there's another one in 4 hours of this player. Like I can just wait. But there was like this part of Sorare that I used to play, meaning like the spending money part that I lost and I got back with baseball. And the only thing that's going to ruin that is running out of money.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I had a ETH balance when baseball launched. I don't anymore. Hey, real quick, Chani, you mentioned my volume was way low. Is it better now, or because I made
It
some
sounds better
changes?
to me too.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So did you have an ETH balance for baseball?
Not really. It was definitely my Euro balance, like to get things situated for the Euro season.
Yeah.
Just to like clean up some teams and make some tweaks here and there, like just to optimize. And I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I guess I'm gonna not optimize, or I'm gonna have to like sell some things that I didn't want to sell. So Uh,
That's it's so funny
put,
you say it that way.
put
Like,
us in an awkward position here.
so I had the same thing. I had like an ETH balance, and I'll be honest that I did sell certain cards with the expectation I would use it for baseball, and I didn't have like a specific budget, but I was like, if my ETH balance is up when baseball launches, like that'll give me a little more flexibility to buy baseball cards. And then I started buying. I remember I bought something like I bought a football card the day before. It might have been the morning that baseball launched. Like it hadn't launched yet. And then I bought this card. It was the Federico Bernardeschi card that I bought recently. That was a
Did you
card
get a
that I
rare?
was like, what's that?
Did you get a rare
Yeah,
forward or midfield guard?
forward, forward.
Okay.
So I was when that move happened, I was like, I'm not buying this card. Toronto's terrible. He'll be like whatever. And there were just too many people that I knew who were good at this game that bought one. And I was like, damn it. I really should reconsider and get one. And then Hulk just started to become horrible. And I was like, maybe I need another forward. And I bought it. And then the next day baseball launched. And I was like, damn it. What am I doing? But yeah,
How many cards did you buy in the first like day?
none.
None.
I couldn't. So it was just like the whole, and it's still like this. Like the market is just wild. Like, so I decided I was only going to play limiteds. And then it was like, oh, there's limited pro. And I'm like, all right, I'll buy some rares. And I remember I bought a Pete Alonso rare because I bid on it and I was like, that seems low. And then I won it and I was like, oh, all right, I have a rare. And then it was like, but I'm still going to buy limiteds. And the more limiteds I bought, the lower the prices got, like after I bought. And I was like, oh man, I'm like,
That's the supply on those limiteds is just so massive.
and it's like, this was obvious before I bought these cards and I still bought these cards.
I
Like,
did the same thing.
I don't think anyone who bought a one of 5,000 or one of 1,000 or one of 100 is going to regret that purchase, despite it being like 20 times more than what they go for now. But every subsequent card after that, I think, is just like, you probably overpaid. And I
Yep.
look at the secondary market. This is so much more baseball than I was thinking we were going to talk about. But anyway, the secondary market is basically nothing for limiteds because, like I said, there's another auction. There are multiple
Yep.
auctions of every player every day. So it's
I don't think. I
maybe,
mean, we can say that it's baseball, but like, too, like I think it applies just as a new platform. Like when they launch another new platform, we're going to see the same sort of dynamics where, whether it's golfers or dart throwers or whatever. I
mhm.
mean, we're going to see the same thing. So like, I think that this experience is important for like if there's people out there that are not interested in baseball but are interested in darts. I think it's important to like really kind of look at those sales charts of the first five limiteds, first five rares, because it's like real like across the board, doesn't matter really the players. They look similar.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation. Are professional dart players called dart throwers?
I don't know. I just know that I saw a YouTube video yesterday of a guy that won with 9 throws or
Yep.
whatever. It
Ding,
was
ding,
pretty
ding.
cool.
Yeah, that was a cool
I don't
video.
know. I don't know anything like about it, but I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, surely they came up with something better than throwers. But dartists, yeah, whatever. If anybody in chat knows, that would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, so I went from this. I'm only going to play a little bit to I'm going to play a little bit more. I don't think I'm going to play all rare, like an all rare lineup. Like I don't think I'm ever going to buy them. But I say that, and I'm now buying rares for less than I bought some limiteds. So I don't know how that's going to play out. Fred the Almighty said there's no specific word for a darts pro, which is extremely disappointing.
Yeah,
I guess it's
we'll have to
darts
come up
pro.
with that.
Yeah, well, chucker, flinger, dartist, anything. Anyway, so the move into you don't have to play baseball made me also think about this idea that Sorare, and it's really not as much Sorare because we actually want them to talk about it more, but the So Rare community talks about like progression a lot, and whether like if you have your lineup and then you progress, you get better cards or you get a different, the next scarcity up, and now you can progress there, you can progress wide and blah, blah, blah. And there's just like this constant push of what you are supposed to do in this game is get better cards to get more cards to then compete in more things. And I'm glad Chani, I don't know if Chani's still here, but Chani was the first one that came into my mind when I thought about this, because he has actually kind of rejected this idea. I don't know if it was conscious or not, but he basically plays like 2 or 3 lineups, and like his cards, his goal, it seems, was let me make the 3 best lineups I can. And then like, I assume you get at some point where you have like the meta cards of those 3 lineups, and then you like start to expand out. But a lot of people with bigger, not even huge galleries, but more like, oh, I mostly buy MLS cards, but I won this Challenger card, so let me go buy some more Challenger cards so I can play in Challenger. And it's like, or you could get your America cards better and just focus on that. And it just seems like, and I have this feeling too of like, oh, I have these Challenger cards, why don't I play Challenger? And this happened to me with Champion Europe last season. Whereas like, I realized I had some Champion Europe cards, and I was like, it's really dumb for me not to play Champion Europe because I have these cards. But like,
well, you thought it would be fun.
I did think it would be fun. I will confirm it was not fun, but it was partially not fun because I listened to Quinny's advice, and that's what put me down the wrong path. I love you, Quinny.
I'm still rolling with Pau Lopez this year. Let's go.
I don't know if Marseille are, but you are. No.
Well, I don't have an ETH balance to fix it, so let's hope they are.
Well, so that was kind of where I went with this, and I was like, I bought a Nicolo Ravella rare card last year when he was at Bologna, and then I got some other U23 mids, and I was like, oh, I'm not using him, and I was like, oh, I'll just use him in Champion Europe, and I'm like, man, I really should get someone else, and then I was like, oh, I'll get this guy, and then all of a sudden it was like, now I'm spending almost an ETH on Pau Lopez, so that I can use my leftover cards in Champion Europe. And as soon as I did it, I was like, what am I doing? And instead of being like, I should stop doing this and focus on the cards that I have to make them better, I was like, no, let me throw more money in this because I'm going to play Champion Europe. Because like I hadn't played Champion Europe, and it just felt like I had entered everywhere else. And so like, oh, my gallery is big enough to have the appropriate number of cards to enter, so I should just do that. When I definitely should not have done that. And I'm hoping that I learned my lesson. Although I say that having basically sold my Champion Europe cards to buy baseball cards. But this is like one of those pieces of advice that I'm giving other people that I definitely will ignore myself, even though I know I should listen to it. Just like Jim are always telling me that like I should have more patience with my cards, and I'm like, no, I got to get rid of this guy. And then I'm sitting on, goodbye to my $3 Morioka that he has.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's like value in both. Obviously, as like a quantity guy, I think there's value in both scenarios. Like if that's what you want to do and you want to play 3 divisions and just compete really hard. And just make really good, teams, then that's fine. I think that there are definitely like pros and cons to each, and like the pros associated with quantity are things that I like the ability, like when you get a DNP, it doesn't hurt as bad. Like I have 600 lineups, so one DNP doesn't kill them all. Like right. if you get one DNP in your 3 lineups, that's 1/3 of your lineups is
right.
So I don't know. I think that like we could talk all day and go back and forth about the other thing is like with quantity you get like I'm getting with my Mexican guys this midweek. Not a lot of other people are going to have that opportunity where they can play a lineup in this midweek. There's probably very few lineups this midweek.
Yeah. be a good number of Peruvian stacks, I think. Don't they? I think they have
Probably,
the
yeah.
full game week. But yeah, that's a your like Atlas stack, pretty much all of your Liga MX cards. I feel like they I feel like how do I put this nicely?
Yeah. Let me have it.
I I think you have had more success than anyone would think with those cards because of these wacky game weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really think about that. I mean, they never think about it. Well, I don't want to say never, but like when you were buying your Santos or your Atlas stacks, were you thinking like, oh, these guys actually play? Yeah, right,
No. The thought more was like they play together. It wasn't
right.
like, hey, July 26th, they're all going to play together, and nobody else is playing. Yeah.
When oh, was it that playoff run that you like? Didn't you win D2 or something? Or with an
No,
Atlas stack during the playoffs?
it was February, so it was like when their season was just starting, and it
Oh,
was in
okay,
between MLS starting before Brazil and Argentina. Nothing else was going on, basically.
right, okay, yeah. And it's one of those that you like see those lineups, and you know what also was the West Ham stacks at the end of the count, like around the Boxing Day
Christmas
period,
time. Yeah.
and it was all of a sudden it was like, oh man, that was super sharp, and I'm like, I wonder if Andy thought about that when he was putting that together 5 months ago.
I'm sure I did, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, Liverpool played those same
Yeah,
weeks, so it made it tough. I think, whatever. I think I won a couple, and Liverpool definitely won most of them, though.
yeah. I just feel like if you were building lineups or building a gallery that you were like, I'm going to maximize, like I'm going to get the most quality over quantity. I think you would have missed out on those opportunities. Like I don't think you would have bought those cards if you were somebody who was like, I'm only going to play 4 and I'm going to make them as great as possible, and you miss out on those like random opportunities that like theoretically you could think of. Although sometimes we just don't even know the schedule ahead of time, so like you don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, go look at the player rankings for America, and I don't think a single player out of that Atlas stack is going to show up on any of those rankings. Where's Camilo Vargas? Maybe is like top 10 or something, and I don't honestly I don't know where Camilo Vargas is in America goalkeepers, but I don't think that he's like top 5 or anything.
He's top 5 among guys named Camilo,
Okay.
maybe. I have him. So Surface brought up the when to expand to D3, which newer people may know as Rare Pro, is one of the
Yeah.
most difficult questions for users on the platform. What's kind of funny about that division, because I've had the same thought, is that I actually don't think, I think people take too long to get there. And that for most people, waiting to get like 5 of the elite rares to make yourself more competitive in the rare division is actually detrimental, and that you should probably try to get to Rare Pro as quickly as possible because the prizes are better, there are fewer people competing, and your upside is just higher. For All Star, obviously, you miss out on the threshold, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's only a single lineup. But I think people look at progressing to Rare Pro not incorrectly, but they don't consider how hard it actually is to win in Rare versus like what it takes to get to Rare Pro. And I didn't realize that until I started competing there anyway, like myself.
Yeah. What's your opinion on like having to get super rares to jump there? Is your opinion just like get there and worry about the super rares later, or like buy Michael Bradley and go play D3 right now?
Yeah, I mean, we say that after Michael Bradley banged like a 94. So like a super rare Michael Bradley would have been quite helpful. That's another. I don't think I've
With a
ever won a
complete
card.
Golazo, by the way.
What's that?
With one complete Golazo, by the way.
Yeah. Who needs Federico Bernardeschi? Excuse me. I think so. We did like a review of scores that it takes to get prizes in Rare Pro, And a lot of times they're lower than in rare because there are fewer people who compete. But and then there's like this chart of like 90% of prizes in Rare Pro are won by lineups with super rares in them, usually two. So you're like, how do you see that and then be like, oh, I can compete with just rares? So Skyfov is asking, what's D4 and D3 mean? Firstly, welcome to Sorare. Secondly, D4 is the rare division and D3 is Rare Pro. It's just the old names for them, and we're old people from Sorare, so that
Boomers.
it stays out, stays in the nomenclature. So, excuse me, like this dry throat, and you're the one who's homesick. So, I think if you have 5 elite rares, you can play that in Rare Pro and be successful. There comes to a point where, like, if you don't have the elite rares and you have a couple of them, it actually might be more beneficial to get a super rare of somebody who's not quite as good to like help make up the gap. So you may not have Carlos Heel rare, but if you have a Michael Bradley super rare, then that helps a little bit. The problem is that in Rare Pro, a lot of people play a Carlos Heel rare and a Michael Bradley super rare. So there's that. Obviously, it's not you playing that. So
I can't imagine there's many combinations of Michael Bradley and Carlos Heel being in the same lineup.
I definitely did it recently.
Wow.
And I remember thinking it was like a lock. It was like Bradley home against, I don't remember who it was, Charlotte, no offense trip, or Miami, someone like that. And I was like, yep, that's it. And I don't know. I don't think I've ever won a reward with that Bradley super rare. Still, I was heading for one this week, and then Don Camilo just ruined it.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Let me see here. Sorry, I'm pulling up my SO5 reward. Yep, 0. Not 1. So sad. Anyway, so I think it's just a point of like, I think the idea is to make the best lineups. And a lot of people are like, all right, I'm going to make the best 6 lineups I can. And I don't think enough people are like, if I look at the value of my 6 lineups, does it actually make it better if I just made 3 lineups, sold off the extra pieces, and improved my 3? And I feel like we talk about quality over quantity enough where that answer is yes. And so I think the point is that people are like progressing both up and out earlier than they should. And it's like their teams are not as good, but they're like, oh, I have this extra card in this other division, so I'm going to go play that. And then you're taking resources away from like your core teams that probably should be better. And I'm guilty of it too. Like I have plenty of cards that I should get rid of to help my other teams, but I'm like, oh no, because I have to enter America Rare this week. And it's like, do I?
Yeah. Do you still enter Asia Rare?
So no.
Do you play Asia Rare Pro?
No.
No.
So that was my plan at the beginning of the season, was to play Asia Rare Pro. And I like hesitated on getting super rares for it. I decided I was definitely going to do super rares because I didn't want to buy 5 like of the elite rares and try to go into super rares, because it feels like Asia Rare Pro is so tough. You know, you get like that Frontale game where they win 5-0 and you're just like, you have no chance. And
so I played Asia Rare Pro this entire season. 0 rewards. I bought a team for it.
Tokyo stack?
No, it's Sapporo, which they've been god awful. So
they have been god awful.
Whatever.
So that was my plan, and then Usami was the first forward I bought. I had an Anderson Lopez who I traded for something, and then I was like, oh, I need a forward, and I bought Usami, and I was like, I have leftover pieces that I'll just play in rare. And then Usami tore his Achilles, and then Higashiguchi, my goalie, got hurt as well. And I was like, all right. And I think normally I would have been like, all right, I'll replace those so I can compete. And I finally was like, I'm out. I don't want to play it. And so I haven't played Asia at all. And I use any Asia cards I have, I tend to use them in all-star, but I don't even have great ones anyway. So it's like,
Yeah, I need to sell all my Asian lineups. Just get out of them. If I'm not winning with them, like that's almost like a discussion topic right there. Like when when do you need to just like bite the bullet and make that decision? Like, hey, this isn't working. We need
yeah.
to do something else.
I think that's like the toughest part of this game is
Yeah,
like deciding when enough is enough in terms of not being successful, particularly if you have the ability to like sell cards and get out. Like if it's your only lineup, then like you're kind of stuck. Like I get that.
right.
But this idea of, yeah, let me go enter Asia so I can, like, you know what the problem was is that I didn't even want to win those cards. Like obviously winning is great and all, but like I didn't want to win them. And like I'm fairly certain the last like 5 all-star cards that I got from Asia, I have been unable to sell.
Yeah,
Like the price, and we were just seeing this with America prices too, but they're like so down right now. So now it's like, do I just hold it and wait for the season to come back in March or April, whenever it is? And it's like, I, I don't know. It's a division I don't enjoy, and so I stopped playing. And I did that with Challenger too.
yeah. Rare division for Asia is like the most unappealing thing to me because like the tier threes are really hard to sell. The tier twos can be hard to sell. In the end, I would only really want the tier twos are better. And like honestly, I'm unable to win those right now. I think part of it is like an edge. The guys I bought are not performing well. I've had a lot of injuries over there too, and guys spitting in other people's faces. So just like whatever. But there probably is a time where it's just like, all right, move that and try something else, or don't run it there. Like Sugino was Silver Fox was having a great start to the season,
He was.
and like honestly, if I would have not run him in Asia Rare Pro and ran him in like Global or something else, I probably would have won more rewards just based on his scores. But I was, I had a plan and I was trying to do something there in Rare Pro, and it just wasn't working.
I like this point that Sam brought up a few minutes ago in chat. He said it's not
Yeah,
just about assessing if the marginal team is viable, but also about how much it hurts your top teams. And that's absolutely it. Like that's why I sold out of Asia as much as I could,
yep,
because I was like, this team is not good enough to win. So that was the other thing. I felt like I had good teams and I was just like not even close. And I didn't have the time to put in to like really throw myself into the K League or the J League. And I was just like, I had an Ulsan stack last year, and like even that wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be. And so I was just like, this is not working for me. And so I didn't want to make my marginal team slightly better than marginal. And instead I just got out and made my main teams better. But I realized that there are people who do the opposite. Like they love like Hoodwink's here. And he's like, yeah, Asian leagues are the best in the world. And it's like, it
yep,
works for him.
right.
And it didn't work for
Well,
me.
he clearly has an edge there, and he does his research and he works hard. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Totally makes sense. And if I had an edge there, I would be getting after it too.
Yeah.
Uh, Back to Sam's point, kind of like that's a new rule that I've pretty much put into like my lineup construction because, like, yeah, I'll submit marginal teams or throwaway teams or punty teams, but I'll never like get an extra one in if it hurts something else. Like, I will always make
That's
sure
so
that like
hard.
yeah, I'll always make sure that my good teams are good, and I'm never gonna be like, I'll rob Peter to pay Paul here and do this, and I won't do that anymore. If I have a punty team that I really want to play, I'll just buy a guy, and I'll buy a punty guy to go with it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna rob a player from another lineup that does make sense.
That was like one of the biggest turning points for me on Sorare was not
Yeah,
doing that anymore. And I'm not I'm not completely guiltless on that. Like I still do it. And I convince myself that 2 guys are like close enough and I'm like, oh, I'll just throw this guy here so I can enter this. And I don't think there's ever been a time where I did that, where I was like, all right, let me take this guy out of this really good lineup and put him here so that I can enter another one. And the game weeks happens, and I'm like, glad I did that. Like, never. And it's like a real bummer to have, like, because usually what happens is it's because you have good cards that just like aren't in a lineup, and you're like, this guy's too good to be in training this week. And you're like, well, if you don't have the cards, like, then you don't have the cards. And so I don't know. I was basically going to throw away a team. Was it last week? I think it was last weekend or 2 weekends ago, excuse me, where I had the Robert Lubicic. I played All-Star Rare Pro with 2 U23 Super Rares. Like, I plan on playing U23 Super Rare this year, or U23 Rare Pro, excuse me. And that week, I don't think I had a goalie, but it was like Thomas Hasel was like maybe going to be back or possibly. And I was like, oh, I'll just throw it in. And if he plays, it's great. And I'm like, I'm literally ruining these 2 cards. Like,
Right.
the odds of him playing are so low. I really should not do this. And like going out and buying a rare U23 goalie is like not that easy price wise.
Right. Yeah, that's a weird one.
And so, but it's like something I totally would have done. And then, so not only would I have put those 2, it was a Lehan Bum and Lubicic Super Rares that I would play in U23 Rare Pro. So not only was I taking them out of my All-Star Rare Pro team, I was putting those guys into a dead U23 Rare Pro while also making my All-Star Rare Pro, which I convinced myself is my like top lineup every week. I'm making that worse because I'm like, these guys were my 2 best Super Rares this week, but now I'm taking them out, putting them in a dead lineup so that I can basically kill my All-Star Rare Pro lineup. I ended up not doing that, thankfully. And I'm pretty sure I won a reward that week. I don't remember who it was. But like, I was so close to doing it. Like I had done it. And then I'm like, I should not do this. And went back. And like if you could go back to my lineup builder on Sorare Data, like you will see those cards in U23 and Hazel still is not playing.
Yeah. I think he's back in training though. I saw training photos.
Yeah, he started the Whitecaps 2 game the other day.
Ah, okay.
Which doesn't really help me, but yeah. Javier's asking about selling your average rare teams to build insanely strong limited teams. What do you think about that?
I don't think that that's a good idea. I think limited is so hard to win. Like, I rebought, so I'm back in the limited game. I rebought limiteds. But pretty much with the intention of playing specialist and supporting like different lineups, like the kickoff lineups and the 3 clees and like all of those different things. Like, I want them for those purposes. And yeah, I'm playing all the regions when I can, but the cards are basically there to support like all the new competitions. That said, I don't think that I would like create like a super team to try to go and win. I wouldn't sell my rares to try to win gas limited because I don't know how many lineups get put into there every week. Do you have the numbers? Like, it's got to be massive and really freaking hard to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the. I was just looking. Like last weekend was 14,000.
Yeah.
And like we don't even have most of Europe back.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I would do it. I would try it. Like, it's probably a tough ask to say try to play up towards the rare pro divisions, but I think if you're already at rare, I wouldn't go back.
So you have more limiteds than I do.
Yeah.
And I never even sold out of my limiteds. You really went out for it.
I sold all my limiteds and now I'm all the way back in.
All the way back in. I actually don't think it's that bad to do it. But I think some people's opinion of insanely strong limited teams might be different than actually insanely strong limited teams. And so that's one issue. I do think that there's an argument to be made that specialist limited, if that's your, like, if you're gallery size and your budget is like rares or limiteds, I think limited, specialist limited is the most important contest every week, because for the top prize upside, it's the cheapest entry.
Yeah.
And so, and in that competition, you need at least one insanely strong player. And I think you probably need, you need the two guys who average, between or under 60. And then you need the two guys under 40. And like, basically, you should have like a budget of who are the crap guys that I have to buy to fill this spot. But you should have guys who are really good who average up to 59 points. And then you're one really good one. I think I'm like turning on limiteds recently, meaning turning towards like I actually do think they're worth competing in if you can get these really good cards. Like if you can afford the upper tier cards in limited, I think it's okay because so many of them are now being used in the super rare kickoff or unique kickoff. And like we're actually seeing some of the elite cards not being played in limited competitions because people who have uniques and super rares are like, oh yeah, I guess I'll go buy a Kimmich limited or the Mbappe limited so that I can play it in this unique kickoff or whatever, whatever they are. The three clear.
I mean, you can't though, because it's under 50.
Oh, that's right. That one's under 50. The three clear is one of them. Doesn't one of them allow you to have a higher one? I could be wrong.
Yeah,
so I don't. Specialist.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, you're right. Like people are using those cards in either specialist or some of those other competitions.
Yeah, and granted, like the main European leagues haven't like the big European leagues haven't returned, so we don't really know where those cards will end up. But I was talking to Sean actually yesterday, PSU fans too. Might have been this morning. I bought a Messi and a Neymar limited last year or earlier this year for like a third of what they go for now. That was I entered limiteds early so that I could win Neymar and Messi, and then eventually I just bought Neymar and Messi, not with rewards either. But I actually found myself playing one of them in specialist, and so like I wasn't even using them to get like my idea was like, oh yeah, I'll use them together, I'll win Champion Europe, and then I was like, oh, what superstar player do I want to use in specialist? I was like, oh, one of those guys. So now I'm already like splitting that up. So I think like I don't know what the answer is, but I think that playing limiteds is a lot more viable than we thought it was. That's all.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that you're 100% right on the specialist limited competition, like the cheap entry for the most part. I mean, you do have to have one good player or one. You need three good players.
Yeah.
Realistically, you need one outstanding player, and then you need two that are like just below 60. And then the last two can just be found on the bargain bin shopping or DNP guys. Like last week, Simon Balat was kind of like he was in my gallery. He's kind of a cheat code for that because he was DNP L15, so he kind of fit in there nicely.
Yeah, that's
but I do think that's like a competition that everybody should strive to play and should try to play. If you're not playing it, then you should change your gallery up or make a couple purchases and make it to where you can play that every week. I know like Gator Guy, he plays it every week and he plays it hard every week, and he basically buys players every week for it. So he looks at matchups, he looks at the L15s, and he will strategically buy players that work best for that competition every given week, and I think that that's super smart. I think he loses probably a little bit of money every week on the, like the guys that just slide under the L15 and then he's got to resell them and probably loses. But I think I've seen too where he resells a guy and actually profits too. So like, I think he's done quite well in that comp, and I think that like others should look at that competition. And
I think the best thing about his strategy is that he considers the reward as part of the profit on the cards. So it's like if you buy 5 cards for Specialist Limited, and let's say you spend like 0.3 ETH, whatever that is in dollars or euros, you spend 0.3 ETH for a Specialist Limited team, and you win a 3 ETH card, and then you sell that limit, you could give that limited team away. You don't even have to. You sell it off for zero. Everyone will be like, "Oh man, I took a loss on these cards." And it's like, you won this monster card that paid for everything, and like I'm guilty of that myself. Like I hate like taking losses on cards, but like if they help me win something, then like that should be part of the ROI on that card. And yeah, Gator Guy is very good at being able to say like, no, these cards won me this amount. I just go back to the Mignon of how furious he was of winning a 40th card. I don't know if that was Specialist
I don't think he was
Limited or
furious. I don't think that's a good.
he was disappointed. He was full-fledged disappointed.
Sure.
I can't remember if that was for limited.
I'll defend him on this. He was probably a little bit disappointed because
I know exactly what you're going to say. And you're right.
The first thing that popped up was the France flag on the reward screen, and Mbappe's in that pool. He thought it was going to be Mbappe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd be bummed about that too. So I think people need to just like consider stuff like that. And it's a lot of just like, oh, I have this budget and I'm going to compete in like this region. I'll buy these 5 cards and then I'm set. And it's like, you have to be a little more flexible if you're going to play something like Specialist, because they like change every week. Like one player's really good matchup one week doesn't mean he has a good matchup the next. And if you're willing to move in and out of those cards, then it's okay. Or you're someone like me who then sits on 3 Chris Mueller cards because the floor just sank. Although, yeah, I didn't win.
The Chris Mueller floor sank?
What's that?
The Chris Mueller floor sank?
Oh, it tanked.
Why?
Like absolutely tanked. Well, he was an under 40 for a while. And then he went over 40. So he was like essentially worthless for Specialist. And if you like want to win Specialist and you're like, I need an elite forward, you tend not to go to Chris Mueller.
Huh.
Let me see.
Okay.
That's all. He ended up in that weird zone of like kind of in between.
Interesting.
Let me see if I could find my.
Yeah, I just pulled his up. I mean, he's absolutely crushed his last 5 games.
Yeah.
He looks like I watched the last Chicago game and he looks great. Like I think they love him there.
So we're back. Like ETH-wise, he's down 220. But yeah, like. So what his L50? Yeah, so he's like 40. So he's still underdog eligible, but he's like no longer Specialist. And
so we need him to just like not get any decisives the next couple games. Just kind of take it easy. Come on, Chris, take it easy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that tanking, but I see what you're saying.
It felt, you know what it was? It's because I was like trying to sell here, like around here, and I couldn't sell, and then it like literally tanked.
Gotcha. And fiat though, it's probably,
But yeah, he's been absolutely banging. Looks like a yellow card suspension coming. Oh, maybe not. But
it's lots of bets too. I think he takes all the corners from one side.
Yeah. Chicago's been pretty good too. 3-game run here.
I wonder if Sean will be buying the fire stack back. He's going to bring it back.
Who would you even get? Shaqiri and he has Mueller already, right?
Yeah. I guess the hard part there is you got to get Slonina.
Yeah. Imagine buying Slonina to play a Chicago Fire stack.
No.
America Rare.
Oh, that's brutal. Yeah.
Tug saying he wants Mueller limited at last sale. God, what could that possibly be? Oh, 28 euros. Might have you there, Tug. I got plenty. Oof. But that's
Sam,
the
those are some pretty elite cards you bought for various weekly Legends competitions. That's wild, and I don't think that you're the only one doing that. So that's interesting.
my legends.
Well, I mean, like those Legend competitions, you play 3 Legends and then 2 other cards.
That's
And
another good example. Yeah,
Sam mentioned that he bought like Kimmich and Messi and
yeah,
Neymar and all these other guys, and it's like that's what you're going up against when if you're going to play in those Legends tournaments, you're going to play against 3 Legends and then Neymar and Messi
yeah.
or
That's a great point.
whoever.
I was super excited to buy my summer legends, Pirlo and Mascherano. Haven't used them
And
yet.
they still haven't run the comp, have they?
Not one.
You going to buy the Atlas one, Marquez?
No.
No. You don't want Aldo Roca's midfield.
Well, that was the worst part, is that I bought Mascherano and then Enzo left. Like I never even got an Enzo score out of it.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
Yeah, another case of Legends kind of backfiring on the like why are they not just running that contest?
So I feel
People
like
spent money, reward them for it.
yeah, I try to be as level-headed as possible when it comes to things that Sorare do, and obviously my position like kind of encourages me to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm like furious about Pirlo and Mascherano Legends cards.
Well, I mean, this one like directly affected a strategy that you clearly have like worked towards.
Well, what really bothered me about, and it came, I mean, it was obviously Pirlo. Like Pirlo's the one that started it. But like, you would have never, ever, ever done a Andrea Pirlo New York City FC legend card without the expectation that you needed like a summertime legend.
Yeah.
Like he is a legend. He is not a New York City FC legend, but they chose the New York City FC card. So I'm like, oh, and obviously I like, that's even like the team that I support. And like,
right.
It was cool that Pirlo was there and played for the club. He was awful. And like, he is not like an MLS old guy success story. Like he was awful, but like it was like really fun to watch games. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like Andrea Pirlo playing for my club. The New York City FC card almost like devalues Pirlo. Because I'm like, anybody who loved Pirlo doesn't want him in this shirt. But I understood putting him in one so that they could run Legends contests over the summer. And we didn't get any. And then this Mascherano card came, and I was like, oh, surely now that they have a couple of them, they'll do it. And he never did it. And now my card is worth maybe 75% of what it was. I don't even know who's buying them at this point. But they're also completely worthless against the other Legends cards that they now have to compete against.
Yeah.
And so I felt like they were starting to like do right by the people who bought Legends, like the competitions that they were running were doing.
I thought so too.
And this just like totally ruined it for me.
Yeah. Not well done. Yeah, a Beckham Galaxy card is coming.
Yeah, I think the only other thing about the Legends thing is that for the rare and super rare ones, there's only like 3 people who are buying those. Like when people win them, there's only like 3 or 4 whales on the platform who are like, oh yeah, I want to buy the rare or super rare who have Beckenbauers. If they don't want to buy them anymore, then they become worthless. Like it's not like there's this huge line of people waiting to get these cards. Like,
yeah,
I'm so angry.
You're definitely showing it.
I actually would have been fine with the Pirlo one. This Mascherano card is like one I would never buy. Like I bought that, not that I buy any of these cards to like, oh, it's cool to buy. I didn't buy this Obliakov card because of that. But like, I thought I was going to be able to use it, and I'm like, oh, this is good. I'll get in early, so then when other people are trying to run their cards, I can do this, and nothing.
Yeah.
I tried to expand too much. I felt like I had to play Legends, and I don't have to.
You definitely don't have to. What about all the other like side competitions we talked before? Like, you don't have to play them, should you?
No, you definitely do not have to, and they're definitely more work. So like I get not playing them, but I do think you should play them over the regionals most weeks
I think
because of
if
the
you have the
upside.
time and the money, you should play them.
But like, yes, but I think it's actually the time is more important actually because like money wise, I actually don't think it's all that much more expensive
Yeah.
than trying to get an all-star team that could win a
Well,
star card.
I think that it could end up being more expensive though, because it's like it changes every week. It's ongoing, versus like me submitting the same rare team every week is a lot different because specialist guys fall in and out. I gotta rebuy guys, sell guys. You're right. The time involvement is huge. The research, finding matchups, but also like you could get stuck with some of these guys. There's
Yeah.
risk. Guys can get hurt. Lots of things to consider. But I think that if you do have the time and the money, you should tackle those.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of guys I got stuck with, Go Young June I bought for specialist.
Yeah.
Emil Forsberg still here. It's now half of the price.
But it'll go back up. Don't worry.
Just because they do that.
Europe season's coming. So.
Yeah. Mehdi Boujema, whoever he is, bought him specifically for specialist Paradella. The worst part about this Jose Paradella card is that I bought a rare for less than that before the season started and then traded it to Pavel for something. And then he like 5x'd the rare.
Nice.
But yeah, you can definitely end up with some pretty awful cards if you buy them for specialist. So just notice that. You could end up with 3 Chris Mueller cards here.
Right. But they'll come good. Don't worry about it.
I don't even know what that
I don't
means.
know. Owning 3 Chris Mueller cards, I would not be upset about right now.
Do you think that there's any value in the fact that I have card number 123, like 123 of 1,000?
No.
No.
No. But if it makes you feel better, you know, like if you look at that and get enjoyment out of looking at that 123, then sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
You can tell other people though. You can be like, you might enjoy this. You might like this. 1, 2, 3.
So it's funny you bring that up. Before I get to that, I bought this Angelo Segal limited for a specialist competition, and then he scored well, and I was like, he's actually pretty good. And then I bought the super rare.
Oh.
Like his scores aren't bad for like a super rare.
Yeah.
Take some set pieces. Anyway, I was thinking about somebody contacted me recently. I forget which card it was. I could probably easily look it up. But they only collect cards that are serial number 10. And I was like, why do you do that? And it's not like Jerseyman 10s, just like any 10.
Right.
And they were like, 10's my favorite number. And that was it. And I was just like, oh, I get that. And you look in their gallery and it's all 10 of 100, 10 of 1,000. And I'm like, this is actually kind of cool. So I was like, I wonder if I could do that. And then obviously if you wanted to do it with rares, you'd have to pick something, you know, a 2-digit number because they rarely get to 100 anyway. But that 1, 2, 3 card, I was like, I wonder if I could, if I just had a whole gallery of 123 cards.
I wonder how much time that guy spends on that.
I mean, it's pretty simple to just look for a serial number, right? Like,
yeah, but then you got to deal with people.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Hey, mate, do you want to trade your 10 of 100 for my 76 out of 100? I'll give you an extra X ETH. People are going to be like so raising eyebrows, like not trusting. I don't know.
I wish I could remember which card it was that he wanted, because I actually didn't. I think I did do the deal. I think I remember what card it was. Let's see if I can. And you're gonna. Oh no, not Christian Ramirez. What was his name?
Hey, Levi's question: in your opinion, is specialist rare worth playing more or less than limited specialist? I think that limited specialist is just the entry point is so cheap. That's why I like it, because like every week is different. Like you're gonna have to either play different matchups or play different players that fall in and out. So you're going to end up having to either buy players or trade or whatever. So I like limited just because it's cheaper entry point.
Yep, I agree. So this was the card, and this is a special card that I bought very early on in limiteds because the guy has a ball. It's the Christian Ramirez Krasnodar card, 10 of 1,000. That's how early I was on limiteds. Bought it for 12 euros. But he came to me, I don't remember what like the floor was at the time that he wanted this card. Let's see. April 27th.
Oh, he even has 10 in his username. It's P10.
So
I like.
So like last sale was, why do I keep 0.004. He gave me 0.0075 because I was like, part of me was like, I don't want to give this card up. I like it. It has a ball in it. Like the guy's holding a ball. And he was like, I'll go out and buy one and trade you that one so that you still have one, but I just want the 10. And I was like, what? Like, why do you want this card so badly? Like, he was fine. I don't even know if he's still with Krasnodar. I think he left. He doesn't score like that well. I bought the card because he's holding a ball. It's the same reason I bought that Hans Vanderbruggen, because he had the thumbs up. Like, that was one of my things that I loved about limiteds early on. I was like, I can buy dumb cards like this for like $4. And he was like, no, my gallery is just all 10s. And I'm like, really? And it is. Like, it's cool. Every card is a 10. Or if they're not, they're probably like rewards that he hasn't gotten rid of yet. But like all of these cards on the screen, apologies for people who are watching or who are, listening. But like,
would you recommend that P10 plays limited or specialist or rare?
Good point. I don't know. Probably.
It would be tough for him.
10 of 100 Darwin. That's cool.
Well,
so yeah, I was just like, I think this is really cool that you did this. And so I was like, yeah, I'll sell the card. Like that card meant way more to him than it did me. And if I really wanted a card of a guy holding the ball, I could just spend the €6 to get it.
Yeah, as a guy that has his birthday on the 10th day of a month, I'm a little jealous.
There we go. See?
A little jealous.
I just don't have a single card or a single number that is meaningful enough to me to want to like collect an entire gallery of it. But I like this. P10, whoever you are, really enjoy this gallery.
Yeah, very cool.
It's just fun.
I wouldn't have the self-control to do that.
What do you mean?
Like I would want to go play like specialist, and then I'd buy a guy off the market, and I'd be like, he's not 10, then he'd be in my gallery, and yeah, exactly, Quinny. Like if I went for a 69 gallery, like I wouldn't be able to do it because I'd buy a guy off the market, and it'd ruin my gallery.
I don't think it's every card though.
I thought you said
obviously the goal is to get every card, but like if you have a little bit extra of what I think you would end up doing is buying cards you don't want just because of the serial number.
Gotcha. Just seems like a lot of time.
I don't disagree with you. It is a lot of time, but I think this is a really fun gallery.
That's actually a good point from Chris. Is some countries or like cultures believe that like certain numbers are lucky, so they may buy around that.
I love it. Why not? Gosh, this is a lot of cards. The work that went into this, just bravo, P10. I love it.
Yeah.
Tug saying, I don't fully understand DGen OCD status. I suppose that is true. I guess it's for the better that I don't have it myself, or else I would try to do all of this. I don't know. Oh, well. All right. You got anything else? I think we've BS.
No. So what are we landing on here?
I think
don't
you just
have to play everything. Is that what it is?
just buy all the cards you can and just enter everything you can. You can't lose.
Okay.
I think that was
fair enough.
That's what I
I'm
do.
I'm a quantity over quality guy, so I'm always going to be with you on that we want to play everything. We don't have to play it well. We're just going to try to play it.
You just have to wait for that 1 week where Atlas is the only team playing, and you'll be the last one laughing
Exactly.
at that.
Yep.
Too sharp, Andy. All right. Thank you to everybody who has joined us live. Always appreciate the comments you guys have during the chat. Keeps us going quite lively today. So thank you to everybody who's done that. If you guys haven't hit the like button, it would be greatly appreciated if you have. I haven't checked how many likes, but surely there are more of you who can throw a like in. So please do so. If you're watching the replay, you can also hit that like button. And anybody listening to the audio version, if you could please rate and review it wherever you listen. I'll be back on Friday with Sean, probably to talk about the scoring matrix, but maybe not. Maybe we'll all be sick of it by then. We'll be used to it, although it's not even taking effect until for a month from today. But I'm guessing we will talk about that at some point. So also be on the lookout for the Sorare Data newsletter. If you guys have not subscribed to that, you can go to soraredata.substack.com. There's a button right on there that asks you to subscribe. I think it's actually on the Sorare Data homepage as well. So just check that out. If you want it in French, that button is there as well. So just check those out. We also have a baseball one. If anybody's interested in that, you can find it there too. So thank you to everyone. And Andy, I'll talk to you later.
Yep. See